The moment the snake bit him, his world came crashing down. It was a deadly rattlesnake, and he needed anti-venom immediately or he'd be a goner. Mike frantically fumbled for his phone to call the hospital, but his hands were shaking so badly that it slipped through his fingers and fell into a crack between the rocks. As a geologist, Mike knew all too well that rattlesnake venom could kill in minutes. Without hesitation, he tried to suck out the poison, but the venom was spreading too fast. His entire arm was already going numb. Realizing he was poisoned, Mike bolted for the cabin. He barely made it inside, his throat burning with thirst, but the more water he drank, the thirstier he became. Before he could process what was happening, his vision started to blur and his arms swelled up like a balloon. The venom had invaded his system. He tried to pull himself up but couldn't muster any strength and finally collapsed onto the bed. When Mike finally came to, he had no idea how long he'd been out. Weirdly enough, the swelling in his hand had gone down completely, leaving only a healed bite mark. Even stranger, his beard and hair had grown considerably. What he didn't know was that he'd been unconscious for over 20 days. After a quick wash-up, he headed for his car to get home. He stopped dead in his tracks. The vehicle was covered in a thick layer of dust, like it had been sitting there for years. Thankfully, it still started, and he hit the road immediately. When he rolled into town, the sight that greeted him was surreal. Broad daylight, not a soul on the streets. Cars abandoned at odd angles, and bodies scattered on the ground. A roadside warning sign caught his eye. Global deadly virus outbreak. Seek shelter immediately. Mike floored it toward home. Turning on the car radio, he learned that while he was unconscious, an unknown virus with extreme contagion had swept the globe, killing 99% of humanity. The emergency broadcast kept repeating instructions for citizens to stay indoors. Terrified for his mother's safety, Mike's heart raced. He burst through the front door to dead silence. The food on the dining table had rotted and grown moldy, and a sinking feeling hit him hard. He rushed to his parents' bedroom, where a putrid smell knocked him back. His father lay dead in bed. His mother had collapsed in the bathroom. In just over 20 days, both his parents were gone. Mike was devastated, sobbing for an entire afternoon. Facing the harsh reality, he dug graves in the backyard and buried them with his own hands, saying his final goodbye. That night, lying in his childhood bed, Mike replayed memories of his parents. He'd always found their nagging annoying, but now he'd give anything to hear it again. The next day, Mike figured if he survived, there had to be other survivors out there. He went to the church, the town's usual gathering place, but found only corpses, not a single living soul. With his parents gone, Mike had no reason to stay. He drove toward the city to search for survivors, but the roads were desolate, completely devoid of life. When he finally reached downtown, it was just as dead. The mall was empty, but then he heard voices that sparked hope. Following the sound, he discovered it was just an arcade machine still running. Despite his despair, life had to go on. Mike wandered into a luxury hotel, took a soak in the hot tub, then headed to the restaurant buck naked to find food. As he was about to pour himself some wine, he nearly jumped out of his skin. There were two other survivors, a man and a woman. They said they'd been holed up in the hotel for a month, immune to the virus, and surviving on the hotel's food supply. Mike urged them to leave with him to find other survivors, but they both refused. The woman said there was nothing outside but corpses. No chance of finding anyone alive. The old man figured there was nothing out there anyway. At least here they had food and booze. Mike gave up on them and left. He'd barely reached the hotel entrance when two gunshots rang out behind him. His arrival had somehow robbed them of their will to live. Mike lost it completely, slamming the pedal to the floor and tearing down the road in rage. As he was speeding like a maniac, a small dog suddenly darted into his path. Mike slammed on the brakes. He couldn't bear to hurt another living thing. Looking at the pitiful little creature, he scooped it up and brought it along, naming it Lucky. From then on, Mike wasn't alone anymore. They did everything together. Reading, eating, sleeping. Mike started working out daily, knowing that staying healthy was crucial for survival in this new world. A year passed. One morning, Lucky suddenly started barking at something in the distance. Mike walked over to investigate and spotted a wisp of smoke rising in the distance. After a full year, he was finally seeing signs of human life again.